Okay, so imagine stepping into a place that's just a living tapestry, full of cultures, steeped in history, and absolutely bursting with natural wonders. It's a region maybe many of us don't know that well, but after this deep dive, you're going to feel, well, incredibly informed, like you found a hidden gem. Today, we're diving into Assam, a really unique state up in northeastern India. We've looked through the sources to pull out the essential insights, giving you a fast track, really, to grasping its amazing geography, its vibrant culture, deep history, and incredible biodiversity. Right, let's unpack this. Let's see what makes Assam so special.
Yeah, what's truly captivating about Assam, I think, is how it kind of defies simple labels. It's not just a list of facts.
Yeah.
It's a region woven from so many different threads, historical, cultural, environmental, and they all come together to create something that's, well, globally significant, but also deeply unique.
That's a perfect way to put it. And, to really get a handle on a place, you often have to start with the ground up, the geography, the environment. So Assam is right there in northeastern India. It's a pretty sizable state, over 78,000 square kilometers. And it's got a lot of neighbors, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. You've got Bhutan and Bangladesh internationally, and then internally it borders Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, and West Bengal.
Wow. That's a big extended family all living next door, lots of shared history, but I imagine some lively border discussions too.
Indeed. And the landscape itself is fundamentally shaped by its powerful rivers. You have the mighty Brahmaputra and the Barak River valleys carving through these incredibly lush green forests, rolling hills, and fertile plains.
And the climate plays a big role.
A huge role. It's dominated by high rainfall. This creates what's called a hydrogeomorphic environment. Basically, the landscape is constantly being shaped by water, by sediment. It's very dynamic. And that's why it's often described as exceptionally green and biologically rich.
You just painted such a vivid picture there, this incredibly green, water-rich place. And it's fascinating how that landscape, those rivers, those plains, they sort of became the crucible for Assam's really unique cultural identity, right? It's not just pretty scenery. It directly influences everything, agriculture, beliefs, the whole way of life.
Exactly. It shapes everything from specialized rice cultivation techniques adapted to the floodplains to spiritual beliefs often centered around river deities. It's fundamental.
Now, looking at the sources, this idea of Assam's culture being a fusion really stood out. Indo-Burmese, Mongoloid, Aryan, indigenous groups. How do these influences actually blend together day to day? Are there cool examples of that?
That's a really good question. It's not just influences existing side by side. They genuinely intertwine. Think about migrations over centuries from Southeast Asia, later Aryan settlements from the West. They all mixed. Take the Bihu dance, for instance. It's so vibrant, so energetic, and its movements subtly combine indigenous fertility rites, agricultural rhythms, with maybe more devotional themes that came in later, like with the Vaishnava movement. It creates this uniquely Assamese expression. You just don't quite see it anywhere else.
That's a fantastic example. And speaking of unique markers, Assam tea, world famous. But also Assam silk, right? That's also quite renowned.
Absolutely. Exquisite stuff. And beyond that, you see beautiful traditional handloom crafts everywhere, centuries of skill passed down. And the festivals, Bihu, which we mentioned, it's not just one New Year's party, it's actually a series of 3 distinct festivals across the year, all tied deeply to the agricultural cycle. It really embodies that community spirit, the connection to the land.
And language-wise?
Primarily Assamese and Bodo. But Bengali is also very common, particularly down the Barak Valley, which shows that regional diversity again.
And the arts, the music, the dances, they echo those indigenous traditions too.
They absolutely do. But what's also striking is how they mesh with influences from Hinduism, and specifically that really significant 15th century Vaishnava movement. This was a major devotional Hindu reform led by the Saint Srimanta Sankardeva. He was incredible, a polymath, really. Not just a religious figure, but a social reformer, playwright, musician, poet. And his legacy is still so vibrant today. You see it in the satras, the monastic institutions, and in traditional performances like Baona. It's just a vivid example of cultural synergy playing out over centuries, creating something really distinct and lasting.
Which leads us perfectly into Assam's history, which is, well, deep and layered feels like an understatement. We're talking human settlement going back to the Stone Age. And the first recorded kingdom, Kamarupa, dates back to the 4th century CE. That's an incredible time frame.
It really is. And Kamarupa was just the start. Assam saw rule by dynasties like the Danava, the Varman, Malecha, Pala, then crucially the Ahom dynasty. They were established by Taishans who migrated in 1228. And they're particularly significant because they ruled for almost 600 years.
600 years? That's astonishing.
It's an incredible period of political continuity. And of course, the Kok dynasty was also very important in parts of the region.
So what does all this mean, this long, winding story with so many different rulers? How does that deep history feed into Assam's modern identity?
That's the key question, isn't it? That continuity, especially under the Ahom, profoundly shaped Assam. For instance, the Ahom period developed unique administrative systems, a very distinct architectural style. You can still see remnants in places like Sibsagar. Even the Assamese language has Ahom influences mixed in. So this long history of, well, relative independence and strong cultural development before the British arrived gave Assam a very strong sense of its own identity. It's still palpable today.
And then came the British.
Yes. Assam became part of British India after the Treaty of Yandabu in 1826. That treaty ended the First Anglo-Burmese War and effectively Burmese influence in the region, a huge geopolitical shift. And then, of course, it joined independent India in 1947, another major chapter.
It's fascinating how, despite all that history, all that human settlement, it somehow managed to preserve this incredible natural heritage. Because Assam is still a globally significant biodiversity hotspot, isn't it? Home to the one-horned Indian rhino, wild water buffalo, Asian elephants, over 820 species of birds. It's kind of incredible to think about the rare animals you might actually see there.
It is truly remarkable. And what really stands out is the sheer concentration of unique and endangered species.
Yeah.
The conservation efforts there are globally important. Assam has several really famous wildlife destinations. 2 are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Kaziranga National Park.
That's the rhino one, right?
That's the one. World famous for rhino conservation success. And Manas National Park, which is critical for tigers and elephants. Then you also have Majuli, which is amazingly the world's largest river island. But it's also a major cultural and spiritual center. And Dibru Saikawa National Park, that one's even home to feral horses, descended from WWII camp animals.
Wow. But it's not all wilderness. It has thriving cities, too.
Oh, yes. Guwahati is the largest city, a major hub, but also important centers like Silchar, Dibrugarh, and Sibsagar, which we mentioned for its historical sites.
Okay, and finally, let's just touch on the economic pillars. What drives Assam's economy? Tea and petroleum seem to be the big ones. And that historical note, the first oil drilling in Asia happened there, in Digboy, 1889.
That's right, a major historical first. And Assam's tea, it's not just local, it accounts for a really significant chunk of global tea consumption. Sort of a quiet giant in the world's daily routine.
Never thought of it quite like that.
And beyond tea and oil, Assam is rich in other resources too. Coal, limestone. It also has this incredible variety of unique orchids, plus timber and other forest products.
So when you think about it, these resources show how a region's unique natural wealth can have this surprising global reach, often in ways we don't even realize. It connects back to your morning cuppa or the fuel in your car.
Exactly. And zooming out, you see how Assam's resource wealth is deeply tied into its past and its future. These resources attracted trade and influence historically, and they're still central to its economic identity and its path forward in a changing world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's just so clear that Assam really stands out. This unique blend of incredible natural beauty, those deep historical layers, the vibrant cultural diversity. It really cements its significance in India's northeast, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And maybe that leaves us with something to think about. In a world that's always striving for balance, how does a region like Assam, with roots so deep in ancient traditions, but also in modern industries like tea and oil, how does it continue to evolve? How does it preserve that distinct identity, that invaluable natural heritage for future generations? What does that delicate balance actually look like on the ground? It makes me think, right.